She hails from the
I knew
Oaxaca
it.
parish of the Sisters, Ladies, Mountains, Hearts of Guadalupe.
Yes.
Sister Encarnacion. Welcome once again to Chill Filter, the podcast where we drink whiskey so you don't have to, but you probably should, and you probably are. That's why we like you. This episode, I'm looking forward to this episode. We're drinking Garrison Brothers Guadalupe, and I'll try not to quote Nacho Libre as long as I can. But before we get into Nacho Libre, before we get into anything, before we get into the history or how we're doing, here's a way you can support us. We've mentioned subscribe on YouTube. That helps us out a lot. But also, comment. We love comments. Shout out to Katie. Is that what she goes by?
Yep.
Yeah.
Katie
I think it's like Catherine on.
But Katie for sure. Yeah.
Shout out to Katie. She is. We appreciate you commenting, and so keep commenting. And other people, we love to comment and comment between each other. Like Katie and Ben Klepsig, they're tight now because of commenting. And so you too could be tight with people if you comment, and we love that stuff. Good, bad, ugly, we're down. So that's that. Here is the podcast. Bryan, how you doing?
I'm okay. I'm okay.
Yeah. Okay, I like that.
I had this like allergy thing. I don't know. At least I think it was allergies, and it was like, if it was allergies, it's the worst allergy thing I've ever had. Where like my throat stung for like 2 days, and it wasn't sore. I wasn't sick. I didn't have a fever. I didn't cough. I didn't cough at all.
Yeah.
But just like my throat was like super stingy, and my nose was a little runny for like 2 days. But today's the first day I'm like that I woke up and I was like, oh, I'm like mostly better now.
Nice.
So I'm coming off the tail end of that. I probably sound a little nasally, but that's okay.
Do you have any allergies?
Well, so I never did when I was a kid. I wasn't allergic to anything. I didn't have seasonal allergies. And like my dad would always be like, oh, hay fever. And my brother too would like get this like allergy thing and like seasonally, and it never affected me until like, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or so. Then I just like started to get like, I don't know, a little congestion and stuff. And it was like, dang, I've heard that allergies kind of can set in as you get older. And anyway, I've been dealing with that now, I think. So that's what I get for getting older.
And living in a city where luckily Phoenix isn't that bad in terms of allergens.
Yeah.
But there's a certain point of the year where there's more pollen and stuff
right.
like that. So
yeah.
I miss the smell of citrus tree pollen.
Oh yeah, those like an orange tree, like
my
flower.
Goodness.
Oh my god,
unbeatable. Yeah, I do not like the smell of flowers, except for orange blossoms. I could smell that all day. Amazing.
Yeah. My grandma, my mom's mom, used to have like a property in Florida, and in the front yard there were tons of orange trees, and so like that just cemented my love for the smell of orange trees. So now like anytime I smell it, I'm like, oh, it's like grandma's house.
That's cool.
Yeah.
We had an orange tree in our yard. We didn't really take care of it in when I lived in Phoenix. We didn't really take care of it super well. Because after a while it stopped fruiting, but it did bloom, and that was great. It was great 2 weeks where it was like flowering and stuff.
For sure.
That, so.
Yeah.
Before we pressed record on this episode, we were talking about a certain Reddit post in Arizona, I learned this myself when I lived in Arizona. There was a certain bourbon group on Facebook, and I think they were on Instagram slightly, but it was really like Facebook. And I remember an instance where I posted something on Instagram from the podcast and mentioned that E.H. Taylor 4-Grain was one of my favorite bourbons. And this general account, which represented a group on Facebook, decides to like shame me and like reach out and be like, are you kidding me? That's your favorite? And I was like, and I blocked him, deleted his comment, and like whatever.
Okay.
And it's just like some people are jerks in the whiskey world. We work together, me and you, in a great subculture where, you know, or better yet, a great community, that's the word I'm looking for, where people are very nice and people are thoughtful. And you got people like Ben Klepsig, Dramhound, you know, people that are like, and much more. I hate to leave names out, but like people that are very nice people and very supportive people. But there is this underbelly of the whiskey world where people are just rude. And basically, like, so this guy posts on Reddit recently, and for the Arizona whiskey Reddit, and he basically says, hey, this one group, people are just, they just are jerks. And I've seen it, like I just mentioned, like they can be very much jerks and just shame you. And he brings up all these points of like, hey, they shame you if you do this. They shame you if you do this. You can't say anything right unless you're buying from like one liquor store and buying their picks. And like, no one will shame you if you do those few things. And the funny thing was, he like, and people are like getting on his team, and they're like, yeah, they are kind of rude. And then the original poster comes in, and he's like, yeah, and they're all ugly, and their wives are ugly. And you're like, bro, how are you any different than the jerks on this one Facebook group by saying something so jerk-like as that their wives are ugly? And then he like he doesn't own it. No, he does the exact opposite of owning it, and basically keeps going and is like, yeah,
no, it's true.
Yeah. And like some people, like, this is the problem with people these days, is they're given a like, they might get too chummy, and maybe that's not the problem. You know, you throw a comment down like their wives are ugly on this group, and then you have a decision to make online. You have a choice to make. And that's either I am going to rescind what I said because it's stupid on all accounts, or I'm just going to go with it. And this dude just decided to go with it. And it's funny to me because, like, it's very obvious that was the case of he was presented with this option and then he just decided to keep going.
Right.
And I'm not going to get into it any more than that, but I just thought it was funny that, like, he was very sincere in the beginning. He's like, hey, here's where they hate you. They hate you if you do this. They're jerks if you do this, you know? And then he makes a jerk comment and then turns into one of them and keeps going. So I just thought that was funny.
Yeah. I'm definitely in the group that he's talking about. And I really I don't post anything. I rarely even comment at all. But like, I'll admit, I kind of enjoy
I can't stand it. It makes me anxious.
You're like looking at the posts and the comments like through your fingers. There's talk about guilty pleasure, man. There's a guilty pleasure there for me where you know, it is it can be a little mean sometimes.
Yeah.
But more often than not, what happens is somebody comes in and makes a post like, hey, I'm from the East Coast and I'll be in Phoenix next week. Where's the store that I can get Eagle Rare 17? And
oh my goodness.
Yeah. And then so people just come in and they just destroy them in the comments. Like,
I think it'd be funny if they were like, you can get it at all these different stores. Just check them out. And like,
right. Make them go all the way around Phoenix a couple times.
Yeah. If it's not there, you're going to want to go to the one down the street.
Yeah. But that Facebook group has just some hilarious drama, just hilarious drama that I really enjoy reading.
What actually bothers me the most about that Facebook group is that they were really uncalled for giving bourbon charity a bad name.
Oh no, I didn't know about that at all.
And basically Bourbon Charity was still applying for a 501c or whatever, the C status that you can get for a charity. And they were claiming that like he was taking the money for himself with no proof, no anything. They claimed he was Brandon Hunt was, and it was like stressing out Brandon, obviously.
Yeah, right.
But they like didn't relent, and they were just basically making these unbased accusations that he was keeping money for himself, when in fact he was throwing down thousands of dollars, like tens of thousands of dollars for bottles to raise money for charity.
Wow.
And I just thought that was like shameful that someone would do that without any proof. Like, I get it. Some charities or trying to be charities might be bad. But knowing Brandon and knowing that they had zero proof was kind of messed up to me.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, I'm just assuming when that happened, you know, that was some people in that group making those comments. Like maybe 4 bad apples in that group, like all
and
piling
it a good bad
in.
Name.
I don't know. I mean, there's bad apples, there's good apples, there's dumpster fire apples,
Honey Crisp apples.
But anyway, that is super unfortunate that happened to him. That I mean, just no facts, and just anyway, that sucks.
What are you entry buzzing on?
Oh yeah, Garrison is a little funky. I wanted to go a little funky, so I grabbed my Frey Ranch.
Nice.
There's some similarities here, and I don't know. I haven't done the science on like testing this, testing that. But like white corn, I know Garrison Brothers uses white corn, which you might tell me about in the history later.
I forgot to mention that. Yeah,
Frey Ranch. I forget what the deal with what corn they use is.
Wait, don't they use blue corn?
Maybe. I'm looking on the bottle.
Some they use blue.
It's
or no, I'm thinking of the other brand. What's the other Texas brand?
Balcony?
Balcones, yeah. Baby blue.
Balcony Island.
Anyway, it doesn't pronounce the S.
I think Balcones. If I had to guess how it actually truly is pronounced, it wasn't just being a goob, I would say Balcones.
I thought you were being serious.
Yeah, no. This podcast is not serious at all. Anyway, this Frey Ranch, it's got some funky funk to it that reminds me of like a white corn funky.
So you send me some of that, right?
Surely.
Or a different one. Yeah.
Oh, if you have Frey Ranch, you have this one.
I believe there is one. Yeah.
I believe in
a thing called love. That's probably not the one you were.
No, it is. I knew you'd take over for me. Yeah.
So if anyone wants to look this up on YouTube, don't look it up. But in college, I was a part of it really wasn't anything official, but I was a part of a group that would do like funny YouTube videos trying to be like, Lonely Island or something like that.
So what are we playing for the show right now? Which one are we playing?
We are going to play, it's called I Believe in a Thing Called Buff. And it really wasn't that good looking back, but it was fun to make. And my friend Andrew was like quite the gym guy.
Yes, nice.
And so he was the one saying, I believe in a thing called buff. Just listen to the rhythm of my arms. So.
And was it like a video? So were you like in the gym and somebody was like doing stuff in the gym?
Nice. There's one point where I'm bench pressing something and I got a spotter behind me. And then he like interlaces his fingers with mine on the bar. And I'm like, look at him. Yeah, it's pretty funny. So that's going to get a few views this week. At least one view this week, I'm sure.
Love to hear that's still on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are incriminating to me on YouTube.
Love it.
Yeah. There's this one video of me. I think, it was the same thing. But when I was in high school, we used to do videos as well with some of my high school friends. And I kind of was the guy that was like, let's just put together a video and just put it on YouTube. And we never got more than like a few hundred views at most, basically.
Yeah.
But one was an accident that it should have been like on a fail blog or like America's Funniest Videos. So my friend Will did not know that if you walk in like an attic, you got to step on the studs, not literally the drywall.
Amazing.
And so we're filming this video where he's like walking, and it was the video originally was like Charlie the monster exterminator, and he was the monster exterminator. And the scene begins with him going, "All right, you little critters, come out." And then he starts walking across this dark, attic, and then he falls through the attic.
Amazing.
And the best part is my friend James, who had a very high voice at the time. He's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm in so much trouble." It's just pure gold. So if you look it up, it's called Will Lambert Falls Through. I don't get any money for this, but I thought it was very good video of an accident. And basically what happens is James is worried that he's going to be in trouble because it's his parents' house. Will is like in pain on the ground because he fell a story down. And then I'm laughing the whole time. I'm the one filming, and I turn the camera towards me. I'm like, "Oh!" It was great. So yeah, look that up later. You won't regret it.
Yeah, put that on the Discord podcast episode.
Oh, I will. I'm totally gonna do that. Yeah.
Oh,
And
that's great.
so yeah, that is, I don't even know how we went there, but
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
So anything
What you
else?
been?
Any new stuff with you?
Not really. We're touring another daycare now. Just
Mm,
we wanted to tour at least like three.
touring.
Tour, yeah. Always with the tour. Anyway, we wanted to tour at least like three just to make sure that we, I figured some would teach us something, more questions to ask other
Totally.
daycares. So anyway, doing that tomorrow.
You go to Creme de la Creme. It's
How
off
do you how did you
Power.
know that?
Oh, because it's like one
Oh,
of the
you
big ones.
yeah, okay. I thought for a sec you were about to tell me that you could see my calendar somewhere on some
No, I
shared
should.
thing that we have.
Yeah. Now all of our listeners know where your child will be.
Hey, that's a 1 out of 3 shot.
That's
She might
true.
not be there at all. So, and
Yeah.
nobody even knows her name, so it's
So,
perfect.
okay, let's talk about this for a second. I knew a friend that basically came down to a decision. They brought their kids to Creme de la Creme, which is probably a great daycare. Um, but they realized with I think it was 2 kids. So this is a different story, I guess. But they realized with 2 kids, they are paying per month the wife's salary.
Right.
So they decided to just forego daycare and just the wife quit her job and took care of the kids.
Yeah.
So
That's
they're expensive in Arizona. I'm going to say it out loud. I pay for Gray, 1 kid, infant. I pay $165 a week out here.
oh wow.
Unreal compared to Arizona prices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The infant prices here are somewhere on the order of $1,300 to $1,400 a month. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
So
crazy.
that's double. That yeah, literally
Yeah.
twice as much as
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
You did good
Wow.
math there. Proud of you. So, um, yeah.
Anyway, yeah, we gearing up for a little get together at somebody's house on Saturday. Should be
Nice.
fun. Haven't really gone out in a while. Especially Sam hasn't really gone out in a while.
Oh, yeah.
So she's
Protecting the kiddo.
yeah. But she'll get some good mocktails and
Nice.
get some mac and cheese and stuff. So looking forward to that.
That's fun. I told you my sister came into town last weekend. It was a good
Oh
time. We
yeah,
had a good time. She
yeah.
brought
Good.
so here's the fun thing.
Did she enter the lottery for you?
No, I forgot to reach out.
You
So no
butt.
luck. I know, right? Um, but she last minute she was like, "I'm bringing my boyfriend."
Heyo.
And so I was like, "Hey, that's opening up a bit." We had a great time. Met her boyfriend, fun guy. His name is Tate. Um, but it was cool and it was good to meet them and it was good to hang out. But the hard thing was, I was like, "Hey, why don't we just stay home?" And they were like, "Sweet." And I'm like, "And then we can do cocktails and stuff for free, and not pay anything while we're out." And then basically after they agreed to stay home, they're like, "Oh yeah, we also don't drink." And I'm like, "Oh," which is fine. Like I'm fine with not drinking, but I like basically made my point so that it was like, "Hey, we'll stay home for the biggest reason that we can
Right.
not pay for cocktails." And
Yeah.
then they're like, "No, we don't drink." And then I'm like, "Oh, okay, so we'll just make dinner then." So it was fun.
Nice. What'd you make?
We made tacos, but Tate is a vegetarian, so we did bean tacos. That's
Perfect.
right, people. We were sponsored. That dinner was sponsored by Bush's Baked Beans, future sponsor of Chill Filtered Podcast.
Love me some Bush's baked beans.
Love me some Bush's Baked Beans. So, or Bush's Black Beans, because they don't
Ooh.
just sell baked beans. So. If you check out their website, you'll find everything you need. So, anyway,
Use the
yeah, it
coupon
was good.
code.
Yeah, exactly. Coupon code or bushesbakedbeans.com/chillfiltered. We got to do a live read. That's always fun.
Nice.
But yeah, things are good. I just received a package from a friend with plenty of whiskey, and I am excited to crack into it.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah. And shout out, actually, a separate shout out to Bryan friggin' Duncan, who is the sponsor of this episode because he was able to send a drink along bottle, which is upcoming, as well as he was very, very kind enough to basically just gift me not even basically, literally gifted me a bottle of that OBSK Four Roses single barrel strength because he knew I loved it from the drink along. He's like, yeah, you can have it. I'm like, pfft. So shout out in the highest. Oh, come on. To Bryan Duncan. Oh, that's a good idea. Quintuple shout out, baller shout out to Bryan Duncan. We love you. Thank you so much. Anything else before we're kind of going somewhat long? So anything else before we get into the history of this whiskey and stuff?
No, not a lot going on over here.
Yeah, it's all good. All right. We'll be right back and we'll talk about history of Garrison Brothers. So we'll be right back. All right, we're back. I got my notes here. I wrote them down myself. Some quick shout outs. We only have one shout out this week, and it's not a listener. Well, I imagine it'll be a listener this week. It is a shout out to Garrison Brothers Distillery for providing the sample we're drinking today. We do objective reviews for those listening and viewing. So may or may not be a positive review of something someone sent us from the distillery. So we'll be honest, as we always try to be. Garrison Brothers Guadalupe. She hails from the Oaxaca parish of the Sisters, Ladies, Mountains, Hearts of Guadalupe.
You got to do that every time we say the word Guadalupe.
That's true. Yes. Sister Encarnacion. Such a good movie. And Bryan watched it this week. It was so funny. Okay, I'm just gonna.
I had to brush up a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, you might as well. I mean, it's one of the greatest comedies of all time. Bryan and I had a very coincidental moment this week. I am not often. We have a shared Google Sheets, document thing where we basically track our samples so that we can do reentry buzzes without having to look at the actual bottle. We have labels, secondary labels on them, so we're able to say, "Hey, we're gonna pick number X." And anyway, long story short. We were in it at the exact same time, randomly on Tuesday night.
Sounds right. Yeah.
I just felt like that was super random. That we were like, I was in it, and you were. I'm like, are you in the spreadsheet?
And I was like, oh God, am I messing you up? Because I was like adding rows and putting in new stuff and everything.
I just felt like that was funny. And then you were like, yeah, I'm also watching Nacho Libre.
So then
I couldn't help but probably quote it 4 times.
Interlaced in the, it would be, each row would be like sample bottle, Nacho Libre quote, sample bottle.
Yeah, it was so good. I love that movie. Anyway, I am excited because this is our first Garrison Brothers whiskey featured on the podcast. But secondly, I believe this is our first Texas whiskey based, Texas-based whiskey on the podcast. So we'll have some nice, fresh background on the brand. So let's talk about the distillery, the brand. Garrison Brothers Distillery has been a thing since 2006, since I was in high school. Or at least that's when did you graduate college?
College 2010.
Okay, cool. Really?
Yeah. High school 2005. College was 5 years for me because I'm slow. Yeah.
I'm slow too. But I technically did a Maymester and then graduated. But on paper.
What is that?
You ever heard of Maymester? It's like one semester within May. So it's like the spring semester's over, and then you do like an accelerated Maymester.
Oh,
and that got me over to
is what I'm familiar with the term intersession class.
Oh,
where it's like an entire semester's class in 3 weeks.
Yeah, but I did 4 classes in May.
Ooh,
like yeah,
dang.
I was in crutches the whole time and didn't have a car. And I pulled it off, and it was great.
I know, right? Talk about things you can't do as you get older anymore. Imagine doing that now.
Oh my goodness, it would have been so frustrating.
Yeah, I transferred.
I
transferred colleges after my first year, and
where'd you go again?
Only some of my credits transferred, and then anyway,
I kind of had a similar thing.
Yeah.
Where did you go for Where did you graduate?
I graduated from Kansas State University, Wildcat.
Ah, go Jayhawks.
Boo.
Okay, never mind. Go Mountain Lions.
Wildcats. Close enough.
Wildcats. Same thing.
I did go to KU for my first year, and it was, I will say, KU's the prettier campus, but K-State is the nicer people.
Which one's in like? I know one's in. Don't tell me. Springfield.
No, you guessed that last time too, and I was like, "There's a Springfield in Kansas?" Or no, actually,
there's
I said you just guessed that because there's a Springfield in every state.
Pretty much, yeah, or like Greenville or something like that.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you watch The Simpsons much, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know how it's like a shtick where like you never know what state they're actually in.
Yeah, because it's pretty much one.
Yeah, there's pretty much a Springfield in every state. And it's like they'll make a joke like she's rattling off the address and she's like, in Springfield, Ohio, Mod. Like turns to say like, oh hi.
Oh, I like that. I've never caught that. Yeah, it's a good show. I only started watching it once we got Disney Plus. And then I would just watch it while I was making jewelry sometimes. And it would just be like a half watching, but it's always a good show to half watch.
Yeah. Those, earlier seasons, so good. And then I kind of lost track of it after, I don't know, season 10 or 12 or something. But those older seasons, they're just cemented in my mind, probably like Nacho Libre for you. And I love the idea that Garrison like skipped to this part where we started the history. And then now we went off on a Simpsons rant.
Oh, totally. Totally. All right. Where did I leave off?
Very beginning.
Yep, I was on the first sentence of my main portion. Yeah, they've been a thing since 2006, or at least that's when they were first granted their first. Let me start over. Or at least that's when they were granted the first seller's permit for bourbon outside of Kentucky or Tennessee. Didn't know that, which makes it the oldest legal bourbon distillery in the great state of Texas.
Nice.
Specifically in Hye, that's Hye, Texas, west of Austin by about an hour and a half, north of San Antonio by about an hour and a half. Started by a guy named Dan Garrison with the goal to make Texas bourbon a thing. So much so that originally he didn't even intend for the bourbon to be sold outside the great nation of Texas.
Nation? You called it a nation?
Yeah. So when I first moved to San Antonio and went to school there for a little bit, I was like in like an orientation group for something. And there's like some people that are just, your average Texans. And then there's some people that are like cowboy Texans.
Oh, yeah.
And this one guy, everyone's introducing themselves and he's like, well, I think I've lived in the great nation of Texas my whole life. And it was just, it was perfect. I still remember that to this day.
Yeah, that's just the most Texan thing I've ever heard.
And
P.S. Garrison sample bottle, largest sample bottle we've ever been given.
Everything's bigger in Texas, and it's got a Lone Star on it. So,
oh man, I just laughed when I saw it was a full 4 ounces, probably even more.
Amazing. You gotta love Texas. I
know.
Some of my best friends, one of my groomsmen was originally two of my groomsmen were from Texas, and they're just so proud of it, and they should be. Everyone should be proud of something, as long as that something is great.
And my personal experience with that is almost everyone who moved from Texas to Phoenix that like I've met from work, people my age specifically, where they like graduated college and got hired at a place in Phoenix. All of the ones from Texas have moved back to Texas.
That's great. Just like, actually, similarly, yeah.
Everyone's like, I want to go home to Texas.
Yeah. I had a friend that shout out to Bryan Shaw. I doubt he's listening. But he moved to, we were in the same church out in Phoenix, and he moved about the same month that we moved, and he moved back quick. And I don't even blame him, I love Phoenix, but he missed Texas a lot, and so did his wife.
Yeah.
So shout out to Bryan Shaw, not the bodybuilder, or not the strongman. Another.
I thought the name sounded familiar.
Yeah, he's like that main, like when you think of like the people that can like bend metal, he's that guy.
Nice.
But that's not my friend Bryan. But he could probably bend metal to some extent.
Yeah, he was on your YouTube video there.
Oh yeah.
Strong guy.
Yeah, interlacing his fingers onto the bar.
Yeah, perfect.
Anyway. Yep, Dan Garrison. Originally, didn't even intend for the bourbon to be sold outside the great nation of Texas. It's pretty cool. In their first few attempts at aging bourbon in the Texas heat, there were apparently hundreds of gallons lost. So much so that Dan Garrison basically realized that this wasn't a profitable endeavor unless he custom made the barrels, or like
Oh,
got the
wow.
barrels custom made to be thicker wood staves than normal.
That's cool.
Otherwise, they would have had too much Angel's share
I
taken
wonder
out.
if he just like put an insulating layer of like styrofoam or something. I wonder if
I
that
guess
would
that
have
would be something. But you
achieved the
also
same result.
want the Texas heat to have an impact. You just don't want
Yeah,
to
some.
lose too much. Because
Yeah.
like there's two things that can happen. One, the maturation occurs within the barrel, and then the Angel's share. So
Yeah.
if one's too much over the other, it's not worth it. So
Yeah.
anyway, apparently he got the help of Dave Pickerel, legend, and apparently he bought a still from Elmer T. Lee himself.
That's cool.
He was basically off to making Texas bourbon for real. They sold their first bottle of bourbon on Texas Independence Day. That was March 2nd, specifically in 2010. Or this one specifically was in 2010. Their first release was a 1-year bottle of bourbon called Young Gun. Now they have many products and much more aged than 1 year. Some of their standard releases are their small batch, a 94 proof bourbon, at least 3 years old. They offer single barrels as well at 94 proof, and single barrels that are cask strength, and they're aged at least 3 years. There is Cowboy Bourbon, which is a uncut, unfiltered, straight bourbon. The latest release, which apparently you have a bottle of, is
I do.
140.9 proof. Then there's Balmeria, twice barreled 115 proofer. They have a Laguna Madre, which is a limousine oak immersed bourbon at 101 proof, and a few others, including a honey barrel, one that was finished in cognac barrel, and some bourbons, or rather finished bourbon, and a high, that's HYE rye bourbon. Then there's what we're drinking today. So really quick, thought it was cool. The brand has a 501c3 charitable organization. As we mentioned earlier, the charitable stuff is good. It's called, they basically call it Good Bourbon for a Good Cause, that has raised over $1 million thus far for important causes such as veterans with PTSD, healthcare for hospitality workers, Texas state parks, and COVID-19 relief. So pretty cool stuff they're involved in that way, especially in Texas. Anyway, Texas bourbon is known for hot aging. That is not a proprietary term, just high temperature maturation of barrels. And with hot days and somewhat cooler nights in that area of Texas, aging has a stronger effect on a bourbon. Consider whiskeys like Amroot in the very hot region of India, or even Whiskey Del Bach, aged in Tucson, Arizona. Hot climates can have a noticeable impact on whiskey. Anyway, here's what we're drinking today. Garrison Brothers Guadalupe. She hails. No, I'm kidding. So Guadalupe is not a new release from Garrison Brothers. It started, the first release was released in 2021. They basically had a little stint with a local, or at least local to Texas, port, or like a wine company. They had a few Cabernets and stuff, and they messed with a port barrel that they had, and they were like, we got to do this. But then they realized we got to go bigger scale than just this local winery in Texas. And so they started getting Portuguese tawny port barrels. So anyway, they've been doing it. The barrels for that first release started in 2015. And every year from then it was like a 4-year, like I forget, I'm all over the place right now. 2024 release is what we're drinking today, in case you're wondering. Standard proof for this bottling is 107. Originally aged in normal, like, or at least charred oak barrels, new charred oak barrels. And then that's for 4 years. And then 2 additional years in 59-gallon Portuguese tawny port barrels. And actually, I rescind my statement on the 59 gallons. I realized that was applying to the original barrels that they were getting from the Texas winery. I can't confirm that the Portuguese barrels are 59 gallons. Accurate. and meandering, everyone, and meandering. This is very special because, like I said, they're small batch, they're single barrel, 3 years minimum, but they don't go on to say that it's X amount of years. They basically say 3 years minimum, but this is a 6-year, even though it's 4 years in New Charred Oak, 2 years in port. It is a 6-year. I don't know. Did they say that? Yeah, I think that still counts. Like you can call it a 6-year.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So anyway, at least in the 2020 release, this is not what we're drinking today. I saw that evaporation loss in the first 4 years was about 25%, which is crazy for 4 years.
Yeah.
So total wine price, I don't know about total wine, but the barreltap.com sells the recent 2024 iteration for $149.99. And if you're interested, it's still on their website. And I believe they ship to multiple states.
Nice.
So maybe cop you a bottle, especially if we like it.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
6 years in such a hot climate.
Seriously.
Like, yeah, that's I wonder what proof this comes out of the barrel at, because it's standard cut down to 107, but
yeah.
Whew.
No, it should be interesting. And I have a good feeling about this one. So cork pop, none. Twisty top with cool wax, cool coppery wax. Yes. Ooh, what a nose. This almost smells like a honey barrel off the nose. Look at that dark color.
Look going Del Bach today. Del Bach Glencairn.
Nice. Do you see this color?
Yeah, wow.
That's dark.
That looks like grape juice on the video.
The funny thing is I poured more than normal because normally we have sample bottles that are this shape, but I only pour about that much originally. But to scale, because it's twice the size.
I believe we are required to pour bigger pours today because we're drinking something from Texas.
Yep. Everything's bigger in Texas. All right, let's do this.
Yeah.
Wait. Ooh, okay. Port's showing up for sure.
Yeah. I'm getting some light pepper in addition to the port.
Okay. I'm getting some youth, to be honest. Little small barrel taste, but that doesn't mean it's bad. Raisins. Like I was eating raisins today. Strong raisins. What's that?
I was curious if I could get the camera to show these legs on this bad boy.
No, I got a decent high.
It is. When I swirl it up to the top of where I've swirled
those legs.
Yeah, it coagulates, man, and comes down in those legs.
Biggest note, raisins.
Yeah,
on the nose
for sure.
Like pure raisins. It's hard to get around that note. And it smells like you literally are opening a box of raisins and putting your nose in there.
Are you getting any spice? I'm trying to decide if that's just my allergy thing I had going on.
A little bit, but not peppery spice personally.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've talked about like sherry or port finished scotches smelling like raisins. There is nothing that has smelled more like raisins than this whiskey that I've ever had.
Yeah. I just took a sip. It really, just as you'd expect, it's a flavor bomb right away. There is something missing from the mid palate, just real quick.
Yep, totally.
I thought for a sec that like boom, there wasn't going to be any finish, and I thought it just trailed off really quick.
Good finish.
But then like the finish totally came back,
100%.
and just big time raisins on the finish. But I'll analyze this mid sip a little more here.
So I 100% agree with you. It is really good at the front of the palate, and then it drops into this, to me, youthful note. I wouldn't call it soapy, as I've called some youthful notes before. Maybe a little synthetic is a good way to put it. But you're right. The finish is beautiful.
Yeah.
The finish is potentially the best part so far of this whiskey.
And I think that
very sweet.
That syntheticness you're talking about, if I'm understanding or guessing what I think you're talking about, it's that white corn kind of funk. I call it, I attribute it to white corn. I genuinely don't know if it's because of the white corn, but it's just some mental block that I have here. That I don't get a lot of, I don't get youth in that it is not pleasant or like burny, if you will.
Totally.
I get kind of like a a stifling hay barn, like,
Yes, I can dig that.
yeah.
Hay barn is a really good note, especially what you'd imagine a hay barn tastes like. I don't find it great. I think it is a downside, personally, of this, but I think the finish, in a way, makes up for it.
Yeah. I have had several other Garrisons,
Mhm,
and that funk, that what
mhm,
I call white corn funk,
uh-huh,
is masked the most I've ever tasted on this.
mhm.
It is masked by all that raisins. I mean, this is
Yeah.
literally raisins colon the whiskey. That is what we're drinking today.
So on your other pours from Garrison Brothers, you said it's most pronounced on this pour?
No,
Okay.
that white corn funk is least pronounced on
Oh,
this
least pronounced.
than
Okay.
I've ever
So on the
had
other ones, you're getting
on
a little
other
bit of that.
Garrisons. Yeah, and I think that that's
Uh-huh.
masked because of that big, bold raisins. I
Uh-huh.
think that's that's covering up. So if you don't like Garrison because you don't like that funkiness,
Yeah.
this would be the one to try then, just to make sure to
Totally.
see if you like this one.
I had yeah, I think it was Cowboy. Yeah, I had it a few years back. I'm just remembering this now. And it was Brandon Hunt shared it with me, from Bourbon Charity, and it was the most pecan pie whiskey I've ever had. It was
Oh
just
yeah,
pure pecan pie. It was so good.
yeah.
Um, this is overall overall I do like it, but I am a little put off by that mid palate note. But raisins are great though.
Yeah.
And you won't find anything like as raisin bomb as this, or like dried fruit bomb as this, even in the
No.
Scotch realm.
Yeah. I've never
Yeah.
tasted anything so wine finished. This
Mhm.
is the biggest finish
Mhm.
punch, other than like amber on it.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is the biggest finish punch I've probably ever had. The more
Yeah,
I
this
sip
is
it,
yeah.
the more I'm getting a little more. I can get a little more youth at the very end of the finish
Okay.
now, but it's totally not unpleasant though. And even for being a 6 year, I think that
Oh,
it's on par for a 6 year. I'm not saying that it's a disappointing thing at all. I'm just saying, oh, there it is.
yeah. I just added some water, as some might have seen. It is much more uh potent on the nose, in terms of the alcohol vapors. I'm not saying it smells like alcohol. I'm saying it like kind of burns my nose a little bit. Um still raisiny, still sherry slash port kind of. I'm not saying there's sherry in it. I'm saying it smells like a sherry slash port finished whiskey. Um, I like it. My complaint is that, I mean, besides that, like little bit of a youthful note. Let me back up. I might not mean, like, sometimes I get this note for small barrels. And when I looked at the first release, the 2020 run release, I realized that the original, it still might be the case, it might not be the case, but in the original batch of Guadalupe, it was first aged in 30-gallon barrels, which with small barrels, there can be a smaller window of aging, in my opinion. Some companies can nail it. Some companies not as much. And when there's a lot of heat, it's risky to go 4 years with small barrels.
Mm,
You look at Whiskey Del Bach, and they have what, 22 or 25-gallon barrels or something like that, and they only go like 14 months on their
yeah.
typical aging. 4 years is, in my opinion, for a 30-gallon barrel, maybe pushing it a little too far. I wish they might have pulled it back a little bit. So when I say youth, that's kind of what I mean. It's like a small barrel. I've used the word soapiness. I don't agree with soapiness here, but I can get that hay barn, hay barn smell, taste.
I dropped a little water too. I am not getting
Ooh,
so
not better.
a little less fruit. But I'm getting a little more of the wood, I think. I'm getting it's a little bitter characteristic. At first I wanted to say like charcoal.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yeah, I can
but
see that.
I'm leaning more towards just like the dried charred wood, I guess.
Uh-huh.
More of the barrel is coming through, and less of the jammy raisins are coming through now with a little bit of water.
Mhm. I agree
Um,
with that.
and it could just be, the more I've had, the more I've sipped now, but I'm having trouble finding the mid palate drop off that we were talking about earlier. Are you still experiencing
That's
that?
all I'm getting. I'm
Okay,
almost
okay.
getting I'm not getting a good finish like I was getting on the neat pour. I'm not getting the good front of the palate like I was getting before. I am only getting the hay barn.
Maybe
A
that's why
little
I'm
bit of
having trouble.
raisins, but hay barn
Yeah.
takes over. And I would go as far as saying I do not like it with water.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I do agree that oh, well, I guess I might not say that I don't like it with water, but I think neat was better because neat had the highest highs, and this kind of brought everything down a little bit, but that's okay.
I'm gonna drop a cube. Ah, cubes. Give it the old spin J. Huh. My whiskey is more volume now. And it's colder.
Surprising how that happens. Still searching for that one whiskey that when you add ice, it gets warmer. Still searching.
And it goes less quick.
Yeah, right. Yeah. When we find that whiskey where the volume goes down when you add ice, that's
That's
the
like,
one.
yeah. Yeah, that's the one we'll love. Great nose, I think, with ice. A little more. The raisins are still there, but it's not like the full effect. Like on the neat pour, raisins were like, that's it. Nice oak.
Yeah.
Uh,
More brown
almost
sugar,
slightly.
buttery.
Yes, brown sugar and buttery is a great note. Even on the neat pour, I'm sad I didn't mention that because I do remember thinking this is brown sugar, but I don't remember saying it. And buttery works very well as well.
You mentioned cowboy though, and yeah, cowboy is the butter brown sugar. As you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned pecan pie.
Pecan
I mean,
pie.
all of that, and it's so viscous and oily, and it's just like it's very, very good. Very,
Mm-hmm.
very good.
What's the retail for cowboy?
Cowboy's 250.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's
Usually hazmat, I think.
yeah, I don't know about
No?
usually. The year
Okay. For the
before,
last
all I
one.
know is the year before was not, and then now
Okay, gotcha.
this one is. So I guess I
Barely.
mean 2022 was not,
Mm,
2023 is barely. I'm
nice.
only 90% sure.
Okay, cool. No, that's good to know. Hmm. Better than the water pour, but not better than the neat pour at all. Still getting that hay barn. It kind of reminds me of a young um, single malt. Like I hate to say this, but it kind of reminds me of Floki a little bit on the
No,
water
come
pour.
on. And then I need to send you more Floki. That's a little weird.
I think I got at least one full, not the birch finish. I'm talking
Yeah.
about the young smoke finish. But yeah, like alfalfa sprouts or like hay.
Yeah. I
Hay from high.
totally get what you mean there. And yeah, the it took away the finish a lot more with ice.
Mm-hmm.
And like I actually liked it quite a bit more than water
Oh,
with the
cool.
ice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think if it's not neat, then it's ice for me. But all the flavors were really mellowed out more in general. And it still lacked the highest highs that I got
Okay.
from the neat.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's definitely better than the water for me. But it doesn't beat the neat. Beat the neat.
Beat the neat. Oh.
All right, I'm ready to rate this one.
I was yeah, you look like you were thinking real hard about rating there.
Yeah.
Gotta be honest.
I'm gonna
Gotta
give
be
this an
honest.
8.0.
Okay.
Very special in that it is, like I said, the most raisiny port bomb I've ever had. That hay note, that like hay bale note, it really, like, if it had been raisiny and then didn't have that hay bale note, it would have probably been closer to a 9. But the hay bale note brought me down to an 8. Still good. 8's a great score. But I wish they might have tried. I might be wrong on this. I wish they might have tried full size barrels for this one, like 55ers or 53ers.
Did you read? Do they do full size at all, or is it standard across
I
the
don't
board?
know. I need to look that up a little more, but I didn't catch that. But I would bet money they didn't use full size barrels. Yeah.
Gotcha. Think about your letter score here, and I'll say.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I'll say I'm above you today.
Nice.
At the same time, though, I am a big finish guy. I love heavy finish stuff, and this is just the heaviest finish. I'm pecking this 8.3, 8.4 in that territory. And this is it's definitely not average, and it definitely stands out. But still, as far as the letter score goes, I'm pegging it like a B minus.
Okay.
This is in the solid good category for me, in that it has more pros than cons, and it has some very memorable features that I enjoyed a lot, which is how heavy that finish was and how particularly it tasted like raisins. Like, if you like raisins, you go buy this bottle.
Yeah, none like it. Nothing is close. I'm gonna go just below that. Still good, but I'm gonna give it a C plus. A little bit of a letdown, but I have high hopes for Garrison Brothers in the future. So
yeah, and we have a cowboy that we'll do here in an upcoming episode too. So
yep, no, that sounds great. All right, now that we've talked about rating, thank you again to Garrison Brothers for sending that. But I think it's time for our next segment of the show that we like to call Whiskey World News.
All right, welcome back to the Whiskey World News segment. And today, being the end of the month here, we are not going to read an article. We're going to run through some of the upcoming releases for the month of March. But before I do that, I just want to say, still as of right now, I think until February 29th, the Blanton's Gold Raffle is still live.
That's right.
The Blanton's Gold Raffle is live, where you can go to SazarakBarrelSelect.com/drawing. Again, maybe a little slower this time. SazarakBarrelSelect.com/drawing.
Did you put in your entry?
I did.
Nice.
I went ahead and put in for every $100 donation to, I think it's St. Jude's Children's Hospital.
I think so.
For every $100 donation, you get an entry into your ability to pick a Blanton's Gold barrel. Yeah. So I went ahead and I put in 100 to the charity, and Brian Duncan, I know, went ahead and put in 100 to the charity.
And so that's tax deductible, right?
That's true. That's true. So anyway, that is open until February 29th, if I remember correctly. Let's just say February 28th, in case I'm wrong. Get in there and make sure and check it out. But now I will run through some of these March releases for you, let you know what's coming out in the month of March. Again, who knows when it's going to hit your state and with the distributors and all, but at least hopefully you should start seeing it come out here in the month of March. So we've got a new Booker's coming out.
Ooh,
Booker's 2024-01. So the first batch in 2024, and it is called the Springfield batch. We were just talking about Simpsons.
Springfield, what? Springfield, Kentucky?
We will never know what state this is referenced to. Actually, I want to say they did finally, in like when the Simpsons movie came out, I think they like finally announced like which state they were actually in. I want to say there was like because the Simpsons movie was always supposed to be like the final, like the end but then they just kept doing the TV show. I don't know.
Money's to be made.
Yeah, I know, right? Anyway, all right. Bookers, new Bookers, that's cool. Chattanooga, excuse me, hang on one second. Yeah. Chattanooga Whiskey Experimental Single Batch Series, batch 37, Ancient Wheat. So the Ancient Wheat batch of Chattanooga is coming out. Cool. We've got a couple different releases from Hard Truth. So this is new to me. Have you ever heard of Hard Truth before?
Heard the brand.
A buddy of mine sent me a couple samples. Buddy of mine, Max, who we might be drinking something from them here real soon. We got the coasters.
Shout out
and
to
Max.
Max.
From Max here.
He's got
nice.
some cool stickers and some cool coasters.
Yeah, there's a magnet in there too, if I remember correctly.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah, it's on my fridge right now.
That's cool.
Anyway, Hard Truth. So they've got a 4-grain bourbon, bottled and bond, coming out. They've got a sweet mash bourbon. They've got a wheated bourbon, bottled and bond, and that's it. So those 3 from Hard Truth, 100 proof, 90 proof, 100 proof. Those are all coming out here pretty soon.
That's cool.
And Cole's going to do a little dance for you while I mute my mic and cough really quick.
Hey, Red Robin. Yum.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that, Cole. Let me just take a swig of water here real quick.
Hey.
Thank you so much. Perfect. Nailed it. All right. We've got the Heaven Hill Heritage Collection 18-year-old Kentucky Straight Bourbon coming out. So you've heard of this, right? You saw that press release?
Yeah.
The proof is 120 proof, and it is the correct me if I'm wrong. This is like a Brown Foreman mash bill, 78% corn, 12% malted barley, 10% rye. Or is that's Elijah Craig?
No, Brown Foreman is 72, 18, 10, I believe.
That is definitely correct. Okay. And this is the Elijah Craig mash bill, 72, 12 barley, and then 10 rye.
Okay, cool.
But anyway, if you can somehow find one of these for MSRP, it is $300 for basically 18-year-old 120 proof Elijah Craig barrel proof.
18-year 120. It's risk. I mean, that's might be a good bet.
Yeah, I know.
18-year, but I do love an old 90 proofer like Eagle Rare 17, IW Harper 15. Like I can dig them, but I can also dig an 18-year 120-year. Especially
so we've also got Penelope Rio Batch 2 coming out.
Nice.
Only info I have on this is that it is like a 30,000 bottle release.
Okay.
So that does not sound like a lot. So good luck finding that.
30,000? That's a lot 30, of barrel or bottles.
A lot of bottles? I don't know. I guess we'll see.
I mean, it's not huge.
Let us know if you see one on the shelf.
Yeah.
Red Line bottled and bond bourbon. Never heard of Red Line before.
Yeah.
And they have an experimental cask series coming out that is Amaro finished. That sounds interesting.
Ooh, dude, Amaro is risky. What is it? Not Dovetail. Armida has a little bit of Amaro in that finish.
Oh, that's the one. I can't remember if I like Armida or Dovetail better. I know I've tried both, but
I haven't had Dovetail, but I didn't love Armida because of the Amaro finish. It's too bitter.
Gotcha. Last one on the list here, World Whiskey Society, as we recently discussed with the sweet unicorn topper and everything. They've got a Doc Holiday 10-year. I'm not even sure what that is, but if you're into that, there you go. Yep. Moving into what whiskey would you choose, though? So last week on Instagram, we polled our viewers and we asked you, what cork topper would you choose?
That's right.
We put it against my Pretty Unicorn from the World Whiskey Society against Cole's Heavier Than It Looks Barrel Gray Label Topper. And it turns out people like Pretty Unicorns because I won 83% to 17%. Nice. So I will say I do love a good Heavier Than It Looks cork.
Nice.
We got a couple write-ins from a couple people here that
some good write-ins.
Yeah, that a couple of them mentioned Frey Ranch here that I got.
I didn't know. Is that a hexagon or an octagon?
That is a octagon.
Not a hexagon.
I love octagon of doom. It's you could kill a guy with that too. But anyway, that is the first write-in here from Whiskey Drinking Panda. He sent a photo this time. And he says Frey Ranch.
Nice.
Oh yeah, and he also wrote in and said Frey Ranch bottle toppers are fantastic.
That's cool. Love you,
Paul
Joey.
Clarkson, he said Wild Turkey Masters Keep. We did mention that like in passing on the show, right?
I don't know if we did, but it's a nice copper heavy metal cork
Yeah.
top.
If we didn't mention it, that was my number 2 because it was
Okay, cool.
totally on my mind. I remember
Yeah, that's a
thinking
good
about
point.
it, and it's absolutely heavier than it looks. That
Yeah, you
one's
can kill a
like
guy with that.
legit surprising. Yeah.
Yeah.
Madtown marketer Ben Klepsig says Signet. So Glenn Morangi Signet, he sent
Yep.
in a picture
It's
too.
very heavy. It's also metallic. Yep.
Yeah, he says it blends in with the neck and is
It
so
does. Yeah,
heavy
it's
and
like
satisfying to hold.
it's like up.
So,
And
like,
it's like
when you
heavy.
put the topper on, like the neck goes into the topper all
So
the way
it's
down to the cork?
flush. It's flush with the bottle. And it
Oh,
goes up and over. So it's like trapezoidal.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Crapazoidal. Yeah, I said it. There's no going back
Trapezoidal.
now. I said
Mhm.
crapazoidal. Yeah.
He did.
Bro Aska Testwasa. He wrote in,
Hey,
he said, Baker 7. It's neat. I like all the writing.
that's
And
cool.
then he also said, or Caribou Crossing, because it's a caribou, which is better than a dang horse. That's what he said.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah.
All
It
right.
is.
And last up, we got Marco and AZ. He says Wild Turkey Decanter Series, where the cork topper is the turkey's head. I've never seen this before. What is that?
Yeah. Wait, what did he say it was? Wild turkey
Decanter
what?
Series. So
Yeah,
I
I've
guess
never
there's
seen
like
that.
a turkey decanter. Well, so there's something called Turkey Tom. I know that, and it is not wild turkey. But yeah, I wonder if Wild Turkey has like an old, like the old Jim Beam decanters that are like
Yep.
everything. There's like
Oh,
car
I
ones.
see it. It's sort of like that. I'm looking at it right now. It's very much like old Jim Beam decanters.
So it's like super old timey, like came out in the
Yeah, like
90s kind of
porcelain,
thing.
probably with lead included in the porcelain, likely.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, no, I like that.
Nice.
What about this week?
Oh, so this week we got a really fun one here.
Yeah.
We're gonna ask you to we're gonna ask you to own up to it. We need you to be
Own up
honest
to it.
with us here. Because we're asking you, what is your guilty pleasure bad whiskey? What is the whiskey that you are like semi ashamed to admit that you actually like? And I'm gonna make Cole go first if he hasn't thought
I
of
gotta
it.
think about this one.
Okay, all right. While you think, I got you.
Okay.
So mine is Knob Creek Maple.
Nice.
Shout out to my lovely wife, Sam. I almost said
Nice.
Mathwig, which is her
Ayo.
maiden name. But
Yeah.
anyway, shout out to my lovely wife, Sam Rapp, who
And Jim,
also,
while we're at it.
and Jim while we're at it, and Patty while we're at it. Just giving all the
Hey.
shout outs. So anyway, Knob Maple is like the whiskey that got Sam to start liking whiskey.
Nice.
And anyway, it is like it's basically an old fashioned in a bottle.
Totally.
And it delightfully tastes like maple syrup. I think it actually is 80 proof. If it's not 80 proof, it's like right there, but I'm pretty sure it's at least 80 proof.
Nice.
But yeah, it's super sweet, super delicious.
Nice. I'm between two, and I think I'll decide as I speak it out. My first is Jameson Standard. I do not mind Jameson Standard. I choose it over all the basic, like top 5 most sold in the U.S. like Jack Daniel's, Jim Beam. What's the other one? Crown Royal. Those ones like Jameson, I can dig. But then I'm between that and Crown Royal Rye. But I also feel like Crown Royal Rye is a lot better than people make it out to be. So I'm going to go with Jameson here. So yeah, I can dig Jameson. I can drink it. If people hand me something cheap, I'm going Jameson.
Love it.
So
and we need you to be honest here. If we don't get at least one screwball peanut butter whiskey
throw
right
it down.
We know you lied. We know you lied because one of y'all
Everyone
out there
lied.
loves the screwball peanut butter. And it doesn't need to be 80 proof. Doesn't need to be a 80 proof.
It could be Fireball for all we care.
Heck yeah. Oh man, if I had a number 2, my number 2 would be Fireball.
Really?
Actually, I can crush
that.
Fireball.
So you know what goes well with Fireball?
Cider.
Cider. Yep. 100%.
Is that really what you were going to say?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yep. Angry Orchard. Yeah. Particularly. Yeah. They.
Because they're sweeter and
take Angry Orchard and you mix Fireball in, and it's called Angry Balls.
Oh, nice. Have you ever been to, what is that? South of the border? I think it's south of the border, north of the border, on the border, on the border, on the
On
border.
the yeah,
Mexican
yeah, it's a
restaurant.
Mexican restaurant, right?
So they had something that was like a spiced cider kind of thing, but it was Angry Orchard, Fireball, and a little bit of sweet and sour mix, and it was really good. I
Oh,
could dig
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Right, yeah, that'd be
Mhm.
good.
Yeah. So yeah, check it out, listeners. Make it yourself if you're into that. So that's that. We're gonna talk. So next week we're between two. Bryan, why don't you rep the first one and then I'll mention the second.
I would if I could remember what it was.
So it was the Brook Hill.
Oh, thank you very much.
Mhm.
Yes. I was fortunate enough to get this bottle of rare character. Big shout out. This is a ding shout out for sure. My buddy Jonathan. Actually, I'm not going to say his last name because I'm not sure if he's cool with that. But Jonathan sent me essentially the ability to get this bottle of rare
Nice.
character Brook Hill. And it is, from what I understand, it is a brand new offering from Rare Character that is supposed to be the absolute top of the line Rare Character
That's cool.
whiskey
Product. Yeah.
that they plan on putting out. And
Mhm.
they already had it's all single barrel stuff, and
That's cool.
there was already the Rare Character Exceptional series, and now
Uh-huh.
these Brook Hills are above the Exceptional series. And what people say is essentially like the BTAC of
I've
Rare
heard of
Character.
it. Yep.
This is,
Mhm.
and there, I did searching online here, trying to find anything out about it. I can't find anything
That's
out
cool.
about it.
So we'll be the first.
See, I hope we're one of the first here where we can let you
And
guys
I
know
hope
what the
that our love of spirits lifted your whiskey. No,
nailed
sorry,
it.
go on.
Anyway, if y'all are curious, if you've ever even heard of Brook Hill, let us know, and let us know if you're interested in hearing
Yeah.
what our take is.
The alternative is a recent release as well from Old Forester, where we would be drinking if it's chosen. Old Forester 1924, their 10-year, which is a slightly different mash bill than normal. So put out your vote this week. Keep in mind that Brook Hill is not well known, but it would be a killer pour, likely. We'll find out. We'll be the judge of that. So keep that in mind as you vote this week on Tuesday. So we'll appreciate your vote. Anything else, Bryan, before we hope it up?
No, I'm just hoping that all of this was a meandering episode, so I hope
It
all the
was.
meandering was on the fun side and not on the get back to the whiskey side.
Nah, people love that stuff. But you know what I hope, Bryan? I hope that I beat you at this reentry buzz that we're going to record after this, because that would put me in the lead for the 10 episodes. But if you win this, I think we tie. No. We'll have one more opportunity. I forget.
That's true. We'll figure it out.
No. Yeah, we'll figure it out. But
We'll
I hope
figure
I
it out,
beat you.
but I hope that your pants are not stinky.
I hope that you slap it a hand, Escalito.
I hope that you save me some of that corn.
But most of all, listeners and viewers and all you great people, we hope that our love of whiskey lifted your spirits. Oh my gosh, I'm in so much trouble.